on behalf of Heritage Trust, Davie, well, welcome to East End Park, and for those who are not sure, this is Davie Hunter, and Davie used to be a youth coach with Dunfermline Athletic for a good number of years. So initially, Davie, what was your background? Did you play football?
Yes, as a young boy when I left school, I played with the DAHT apprentices at under 18 when I was 15-year-old. Signed as a 16-year-old for Lochore Welfare Junior. Played there for about a year and a half, and then I had a wee fallout with the secretary at the time over something, and I went back to the DAHT apprentices again and played there for 3 seasons actually, where we were very successful. We were the best team in the league by a long way. We won 7 trophies in 1 season. And then I actually signed for St Andrews United when the team was breaking up, once we were all getting too old. And I signed for St Andrews and played 1 game for them. And then Brecon City come in and asked me if I would sign for them, which I played a trial and signed for them. From there I was transferred to Morton. Played with Morton for a wee while and then went to Stirling Albion. But after a wee while I got a bad injury, cruciate was done, and I stopped playing. And in later years, once the family and that come along, both my boys played, and I got involved initially with club football, would you believe, when my oldest son was sort of 9-year-old, started playing with the Cubs. And then they both moved on to boys clubs. In 1993, David McWin-Bertie and Dick took over as the management team in here. They brought in Davie McParland as youth development officer. And Davie wanted to see what he had round about. I mean, there was no youth initiative as it is at the moment. It was just, they went round, we had 1 scout, Davie Hodge, who went round boys clubs, picked up good players, and they brought them in training 1 night a week at Queen Anne High School. So Davie wanted to see what he had in the training side and arranged a match. And my youngest son at the time, Gary, was playing with Rosyth, and they were the best team in the league at under 11. And we arranged a match against what Dunfermline had. And after the game, just sitting talking to Davie and about various things about the treatment of kids, etc, etc. And lo and behold, 2 days after that I got a phone call from Davie and asked him if I would come in and give him a hand. He says, obviously I can't offer you any money. He says, because the club's not got any money. I mean, even then we were still in that same situation. But I was delighted because, I mean, I've been a Dunfermline supporter all my days. My father was secretary of the supporters club for a long time. In fact, he was one that originally, when they had the row with the club here, that they moved and they started the Jubilee. So, never ever having been good enough, let me say, to play for Dunfermline, to come in and to work with the people at Dunfermline was just, it was a dream for me. Although at the time I thought it was going to be a short journey, because I come in, the first morning I come down and Davie says to me, right, he says, we'll need kit fixed out, he says, because we've got a game tomorrow against Raith Rovers at sort of under 18 level. Although there was no league, it was just a friendly. He says, so we'll need to get kit sorted out. But Davie says, I've got a meeting with the manager and the secretary, who was Paul DeMello at the time. He says, so he says, I'll be back in about half an hour or so. So I decided in my wisdom, I says, oh, I'll just go and get this kit sorted out. Well, I went into the first team dressing room, and who's there but the legend called Joe Nelson. And what do you want? I says, well, what about this kit, Joe, for the game tomorrow? don't bother me with with kit for your young team tomorrow. He says, I'll. So I went back out and sat down in Davie's office, and Davie come in. What's wrong? I says, well, Davie, I says, you've asked me to come in and give you a hand. I says, but I'll tell you now, I says, I'm no standing that, of anybody. That's just not my style. He says, look, he says, lesson number 1, you do not speak to Joe until he has got his first team players out on that bus down to Petrevie. He says, and then after Joe's got that, he says, everything's fine. And lo and behold, I'm sitting in Davie's office, and sure enough, about 10 minutes later, Joe comes in, and his first words were, well, what about this kit then, whatever. So that was it, and then you go on and you have a relationship with the man for until the day he died, really, because he was a terrific guy, and he's like myself, Dunfermline through and through, we bleed black and white, don't we, and that's it, the same as yourself, Christine. And we're terrific. So that was how I first got involved with Dunfermline.
So it was down to Davie McParland. Davie McParland was here for a few seasons.
For about 3.5 seasons, yeah.
And I think he was brought in by Dick and Bear,
yes,
to get the youth situation up and running. And he had obviously had a lot of experience of that, because he was with...
well, he had been manager of Partick Thistle when they won the League Cup in the 1970s. And then he was, a lot of people don't know, he was assistant manager to Jock Stein at Celtic. And he was a great man, great talker.
He was a good football man, and very knowledgeable. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I look at my wee notes here that I got, I mean, when Davie come in here, the first sort of batch of players that we got coming in full time, which there was only about seven or 8, and 4 of them that I've taken a note of here. Chris Templeman, who's still playing yet, that was 1994, I would say, Chris come in here as a young boy. He's made over 500 senior appearances. Stephen Ferguson, who left here as an 18-19-year-old, Neil Cooper, when he got the manager's job at Ross County, come down and took wee Fergie up there. He played nearly 300 appearances senior, and he's now youth development manager at Ross County. Davie Hay, the goalkeeper, who went on Brechin and Cowdenbeath, etc., made over 300 appearances, and John Fraser. So, you're saying about Davie's experience in the game and picking people up, and Davie Hodge, who was the only scout at the time. I mean, when you got 7 boys in and you've got 4 of them have all made over 300 appearances in senior football, then they've been doing a fair job.
Because did Davie not start the situation where he had kids coming in and he took them coaching?
Yes.
And they did their homework as well?
Done the school as well. I've got a note of that here. They started the innovation of picking up youth players from the school with the minibus, and we took them up to Oakley up there. We had a teacher come in, done their homework. We done the coaching and that with them as well, from sort of 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. The first thing I done was their lessons, any homework and that, because so we started that because Davie had gone with Fife Council across to Holland and looked at the situation across there at Willem II, Ajax and Feyenoord. And when we go back to that, the guy that actually arranged it all in Holland for Davie was a man called Jimmy Calderwood.
Really? So
that was the first contact that Dunfermline Athletic ever had with Jimmy Calderwood, which would be roughly around about 1997, I would think, somewhere about there. So
2 and a bit years before he actually came
yes,
here.
Aye. So that was where the club got the insight on a certain Jimmy Calderwood.
Right. Okay.
So that was that.
So when the youth system that Davie organised, where did you fit into it then?
At that time, we only had the one team who started to play once it come. Davie looked after the full-timers, and any match that come up, because I was night shift, constant night shift at my work, I was always there for during the day to help them. I would go and assist them, but that was Davie's side. And then the SFA brought in an under-16 side, and we had looked out to get players in for this side, and we actually run a competition down at Davie in conjunction with the council called the McIntyre tournament. I think it's still played for yet with amateur footballers, and we used to invite the clubs in, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs, Rangers, and we started to get one or two players, and we actually won it one year with a side that contained Stephen Boyle, Chris McGrotty, Colin Nish, Sean Russell, Martin Parkin, you know, with Jordan Laird, with a really good side. So that time then there was a boy called Angus McDermott, who stayed in Kingseat. Angus had two boys that played with the club at different age groups. In fact, I think your son Andrew played with John at Lochgelly. So I worked with Angus for, I think maybe a year, 2 years possibly. And then it come the situation that there's 90, well Davie was still here, because I was moved back to, they started under 14, and I was moved back to under 14 because my own boy was coming through as a goalkeeper with the under 16s. So Davie put me back, not because he thought that I would have given my son favours, he thought I would have been too hard on him, because that was his views. And I moved back and started working with Chris Canlish, who was an absolutely dreamy guy to work with. Superboy, although he was an ex-Rovers player, you know, but he was a dreamy boy to work with, honestly. And that's where we come through with various other boys, you know.
So who else was coaches round about that time?
Well, we brought in Billy Bennett, Kenny Black, John Young, Derek Nicholson was round about the club at the time as well, and then Hamish was always there, you know. I mean, Hamish is just so good. It's unbelievable what he's done for the youth in Dunfermline. And we Stevie Patterson come in and done a job here for years and years. Just really good guys. I mean, I couldn't name them all. It would be impossible. But the guys that these guys that I'm talking about, when the situation, when John Ritchie come in 1999, brought in to take over the youth for the 5 years that he was here, I mean, things really started to get organised really well. And then, of course, John left because he cut butts in the club even then. John lost his job in 2004. And then it got difficult. That was when we had people round about that really didn't want a lot to do with youth development. But between myself and all these coaches that I'm talking about, we kept it going. And I must say, with the assistance of Shirley in the office, because without Shirley, I do not know where we would have been administration wise, you know, with keeping all the things right with the SFA, etc., keeping all the licences correct. And so, I mean, Shirley was a massive help to me at that time, until things sort of got settled back down again. Hamish sort of come in and started to look after things a bit again and work things. So it's been...
So, did you do a lot of the organising then?
Towards the end, yes. Yeah. Towards the end, I would say once John Ritchie left, from 2004 up until maybe about 2009 when Stephen Wright would come in about there. When Stephen come in, I was doing a lot of the organisation, which was, it was difficult when you had teams at every age group, because you had the situation, I mean, we only used the fleet grounds, where, okay, we had 3 pitches, but we only had 6 changing rooms, which were all small, so the coaches just couldn't go and do anything willy-nilly. You know, pre-season friendlies, things like that, because first of all they had to check that there was a pitch available, because we had the golf post to put up, and then if there was changing rooms available, and then if we could get referees, because there was, you know, so everything basically had to go through me to make sure that they could invite some of these boys clubs across, not having them turning up and finding out we couldn't get them in a change room and we didn't have a pitch for them to play on. So we had to have the central point, because we didn't really have a youth development officer at that time for who.
So how many age groups was there then at that time?
You had 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s and 17s.
Right.
And then and 16s, and then of course they made it a 16, 17 joint age band. So you were looking after 6 teams. Obviously the full-timers were looked after by the full-time staff. And I mean you had to have 2 coaches for every team, because of player protection and of course coach protection. Because I mean you couldn't be put in the situation as a coach that you were left in a changing room on your own. So you had to make sure that all these things were done. And then the SFA brought it out that they had to have certain licences, etc., etc. Which, I mean, imagine telling Jock Steen that he couldn't take a team because he didn't have a licence. You know, that's the sort of situation that you've got, and it's.
So were you still working then at that time, or had you?
I worked up until 2002.
Right.
So from 93, when I come in, up and for basically nearly 10 years, I was doing my own work, plus I was doing the youths and that as well. But I mean, I worked constant night shift at Balco Hotel at that time, so I was 4 nights on, 4 nights off. So it did give me time, you know, even when my nights on, it gave me time during the day to see things if it was matches at night, and then. But I mean, it's not the first time that I've come off night shift on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock and jumped on the minibus at 9 o'clock to go to Kilmarnock and with under 14s or whatever it may be to play a match, and come home at 5 o'clock at night and had 2 or 3 hours in my bed. But that's where you had the telling you Chris Canlish is a dream to work with.
So it was a fair commitment at that time, and even when you retired then it was still a fair commitment. It
was still a commitment. Although I mean I was dropping back off of things and that, but I think if Stephen Wright would tell you, well, I think he has told you that the first year and a half that he was in here, I mean he lent on me quite a lot for various things that just to see him through, get him bedded in, and since then he's went on and done a great job. But I don't know how long it's going to last now with this new Operation Brave, where Mr Mackay is going to cut down the academies.
Yeah, the academies. What, in your experience, what do you think is or was the best type of coach in the organisation and things like that?
Well, the only thing I'll say now, as far as the boys are concerned, I mean, things for the boys now are so much better. I mean, you can get the situation that I've had it, that laddies that have been with you and they're coming on to their sort of last year where they're going to get a contract, and the parents will say, well, it's a hard year for him. As Lucas says, he's had 5 years to prove himself, so he's come through these age groups, and each coach, he's been with a different coach, and each coach thought he's been good enough to go up. I says, would you like to go back to my day when you played and you went and played juvenile, whatever it may be, under, I mean, I come at 15-year-old, I come out and played under 18. And junior scouts were at your matches to watch, and the scout would come and say, right, you go and play a trial for the Corps Welfare, and you go and you've got 90 minutes to prove yourself. If they've got a doubt, they'll maybe give you another game, but that was at max. Get two trials to prove yourself if you were going to be good enough to go junior. And then, of course, when you went junior, then the senior clubs had their scouts at the junior matches to watch. I mean, so that was our setup, that was our road through. And when you were junior, if you were good enough to go senior, well, if you were juvenile, as happened with some players that signed here who I played against as a boy, Wally Callaghan, John Lunn, these boys they were wanting to be signed by Dunfermline, but they had to go junior, they had to sign for a junior club, because if you did get released, if you didn't make it senior, then if you hadn't signed junior, you couldn't go back and play junior. So you had stupid rules. So I think Willie Callaghan signed for Crossgates Primrose, but never kicked a ball for them. John Lynn, I think he signed for Blair Hall, because John he played with Wellwood Boys Club. Willie Callaghan played with Lochgelly Churchman. So I mean, so that was how hard it was in these days. And then you've got the boys now. I've got these are whether we get more players or not is another reason, because you'll always get players who'll drop off in that as well. I mean, we had a player, Chris Canlish, and I had a player who come from Alloa, a boy called John Hind. Honestly, unbelievable. Under 15-year-old. I mean, we played Hibs at Wilmannut. We used to play our matches at Wilmannut at that time. And we drew 6-6 with Hibs. He scored the 6 in them. We went up to Inverness the next week, played Inverness Cali, beat them 5-2, he scored the 5. We come down the next week to Kilmarnock. We beat Kilmarnock 5-3, and he only scored 4 that day. And a wee boy called John Higgins, who scored the last one, wee boy, great wee guy, he started shouting when he scored it. He says, I'm catching you, Jabba, we used to call him. I'm catching you, Jabba. Jabba had about 15 goals under his belt. I think in our first 7 matches, if I remember correctly, we scored 31 goals, and I think he had 29 in them. And then he got brought in here full time and went down to stay with Mo. And Mo's terrific with the boys, you know. And he didn't like it, he wanted back to Alloa. Went back to stay with his mum in Alloa, and Bertie used to go through and pick him up and bring him through to training and take him home. And then it turned out he wasn't turning up for Bertie. So what do you do with these sort of boys? We kept his registration going for another year, but he didn't come back. And then the last thing I had heard of him, he was in a wheelchair. He tried to jump off a railway bridge. He thought he could fly. He was into the wrong type of people and that, into the wrong lifestyle. But oh, what a player. Unbelievable. I mean,
you must have seen a few good players coming through the group.
Aye, a lot of good players. I mean, I still look at the newspapers every Sunday now, and I says, and I go through teams, boys that still playing now. I mean, well, I was on a few weeks ago. I was on the reunion with the boys for Corfu. 16 players we had in Corfu, and 8 of them went on and had good careers in senior football. We've got one of them was Sean Murdoch, who we've got back here after having been away for a few years, but other ones, Jamie Bishop, Craig McHugh and Pat Clark, who was here a couple of times, Ian Campbell. So great laddies. And then
Craig Wilson as well.
Craig Wilson, that's right, who went on and made over 200 appearances for the Rovers, I think. And then you go to which it turned out that it was my swan song really when we went to Hampden in the Youth Cup final. Now you look at that team that played that day, I mean I can go through them. Ryan Goodfellow still playing at Bear, Ross Mill, Kerr Young, who let himself down, really let himself down, because he was a good player. He could have been playing for Lewis Martin. Grant Monroe, who dropped out of football, was at left back. Scott Mercer, now with Queen of the South. Kano, Chris Kane, Sean Byrne, Alec Whittle, who started off on the left side of midfield but got injured after about 15 minutes. Ross Drummond come on. And then up front we had Blair Henderson and Alan Smith. Now, every one of them are still playing football at some level.
Levels, yeah. If it's not junior, then they're at low league level.
Football, Kerr's at junior. Kerr's playing with Bonnyrigg Rose, or one of these, I think, one of the big clubs in Edinburgh.
And Ross is playing with Dundonald Globial, isn't it?
Ross Drummond's playing with Dundonald now. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of players.
I've asked you this before, I think, when I was at the 2003 reunion, that was there a regret that one player, you know, or a player or players didn't make it that you thought should have made it?
Yes, well, obviously the boy Hines won. I mean, I think that if he had just kept his head together, he would have been playing in our first team at 18-year-old without a doubt and scoring goals for us. There was other boys, I mean, one that was on that trip to Corfu, who, when he come with the following season, when he come back, and I just couldn't believe that he didn't get a contract, was wee Mad Dog McGlinchey, Stephen McGlinchey, because he just worked his socks off, the wee boy, and it was so hard worker, and just what you would call, if you're a centre half, you would call him a beast, because he was just an annoying little, where he was round the centre half's feet all the time and doing things. He was one. I can go to a goalkeeper who, I don't know where, I know he had a bad injury when he was here, but you know, Greg Patterson was a really good goalkeeper. And I can always remember when one time with Frenchie and I, we got a goalkeeper come in, a boy called Craig Bald, come from Edinburgh. In the first season, honestly, I says to him, I says, Hamish, I says, the wee drop here that I've got left, I says, this is going to be pulled out by the time the season started. But we see by the end of the second season, it was terrific. And I had actually says to Hamish when we were maybe halfway through that first season, I says, Hamish, I says, look, I says, we'll maybe need to stand back a wee bit for Baldy, I says, because we've had Sean Murdoch, we've had Greg Patterson, now we've got a raw youngster really, you know. And it turned out his second season he was actually terrific, and so much so that French and I both recommended him to Jim McIntyre that he should sign, but Jim reckoned that he wanted a more experienced goalkeeper to come in as his number 2, and then he went to Inverness and brought Kyle Allison, who was only a year older than Baldy really, you know, so but he was a bit, there's and the wee boy John Higgins, who we mentioned, I mean, the same Jimmy Calderwood gave John Higgins, well, I had come down on the Tuesday to see JR, John Richard, and JR says, told me that wee Higgy and Philip Mortimer had been given 6-month contracts. He says, oh, great, so that's terrific. So then I come down on the Friday, and the contracts had been withdrawn. We had signed, if I'm right, David Grandin, the French boy, the left back, because wee Philip played left back, and we had signed the young brothers, so midfield. So Jimmy Calderwood actually withdrew these boys' contracts. Philip, he went down south Played a lot of football down south, a lot of non-league clubs and that he played. He was a good player. But wee Higgy, he went to America on the coaching seal. Settled down there. He's now married with a family. And if he had signed that contract, he wouldn't have been allowed to go to college in the States. So it actually worked out good for him. But he was a...
Is he not head of football or head of youth football at one of the universities?
Yes, he's there. And I mean, you talk about things in the game. I mean, that's a thing that I'll never forget. I was sitting in the house one day, just my wife and I, and a car drew up at my front door. I says, "Who's this?" And it was Higgy, and he was over on holiday from the States, just back to see his mum and dad in Auckland. But he thought, enough of me to come down and visit me. So these are the things that make you want to do this game.
Because you must have seen, you've seen a good number of players gone through your hands at all the different age groups. And it must be quite rewarding, I suppose.
Oh, there's nothing better, Christine. I mean, I'd say to you that the bonus to me was, in my last year, was the Youth Cup final. Going to that and being part of the squad that went through for pre-match meal and to come out at Hampden, and that was terrific. But I would say what caps it all is if I'm in that stand on a Saturday and I see a boy that's gone through my hands that I think I've possibly helped in any small way at all, then that means everything to me. At the moment you see Sean Murdoch, Ryan Williamson, Lewis Martin, Lewis Spence, who's away now. I was watching wee Finn Graham last night on the telly, sets up the goal for Brecon. I mean, you never forget all these boys, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, wee Finn and Spencer, when they come in as the wee boys, I used to call them Simmett and Drawers because you never seen one without the other, you know. But they were great lads. And you start.
You must have had. There must have been, as you say, there must have been times where you could have been pulling your hair out, but then there must have been some times where it was a load of fun.
Oh, some terrific things. I mean, everybody. I'll no swear when I do it all, but I remember one occasion we're playing Cowdenbeath on a Friday night, in the middle of winter. That's like Central Park is. So I had actually been suffering from a bad cold. So I'm with Frenchie, you see. So I says to him, look, I says, I'm no coming down to the dugout there, I says, because I'll sit up in the stand. I says, no, I'll just watch. So I'm sitting up in the stand with Alex Skugel, with Steph Skugel's dad and Alex's dad as well, of course, who tragically lost his life in a car crash not long after he had left us. But honestly, Christine, we're rotten. We're absolutely rotten. And they're trying to play long balls now, you know what like Central Park is, and the two big centre halves are just mowing up. So I'm sitting in a minute for half time, I says, right, get down the front and just see what they're. So I'm just at the bottom of the stairs and here Aaron Scott scores to put us 1-0 up. Strikes it for the edge of the box. So the half-time whistle goes and Frenchie's up off that dugout seat and he's coming round and rating knots into the changing room, you see. So you don't know the changing room at Cowdenbeath, you go into the room and through the back there's the showers, right? There's a doorway right to the showers. So as Frenchie's coming forward, I says, look, I says, keep the head, just keep it. So it goes into the change room and Frenchie and I moves right to the back to the door and says, right, everybody come right, everybody alright, everybody got water, nobody got any injuries. So no, everybody's fine. So Frenchie says, right then, he says, he always calls me Mr. Hunter, even to this day he calls me Mr. Hunter. He says, right, he says, Mr. Hunter, says they'll have to keep the head. He says, but I'm effing no. And he went round every one of them and we went back out in the second half and we were worse. But we won 1-0. But I mean, Frenchie was a terrific guy to work with. I mean,
I always thought that Hamish was quite calm and quiet until I actually saw him on the pitch when he was coaching the
still
and
Premier State.
And I thought, oh, that's not like Hamish. He could get quite worked up and quite.
But he had great things.
He had a good way about
him. You were laughing just up at Kelty 2 or 3 weeks ago when Hamish would say when we were in the dugout, and if the linesman had given a decision, chalked off a goal for offside or something, the first time we would come back to the dugout, Frenchie would just say to him, "Are you sure that was off, linesman?" So the next time, if there was a tight one, they wouldn't give it. So I tried it up at Kelty there 2 or 3 weeks ago. I says to the linesman, I seen you laughing. I says that's me using. But he was a terrific
He was a good
guy.
coach.
Aye, terrific coach.
And he was, I think he was well respected because he was very fit, and I don't think he would ask the boys to do anything that he couldn't do.
I won't name the player, but I can tell you we had a youth player in here at one time, and it was when we used to play the matches out there, right? Mm-hmm. And Frenchie always had a thing with the subs. If the subs hadn't been on or had just been on a short time, after the match, he would take them out and he would go with them, and he would start from the touchline to the 18-yard line, back to the touchline to the 6-yard line, to the 6-yard line the other side, back, 18-yard line back, right across the pitch and back. Well, I remember a situation where one of the subs that we had here at that time, he was in here as a full-timer, when Hamish was back at the touchline finished, this boy would still had the full width of the park to go, and Hamish would be 40 at the time maybe, and they're talking about a laddie who was 17-year-old, but that's how fit he was, and he's still a fit boy yet. He still loves it yet. He's with FIFA now, with the under-15s with Stephen, and yeah.
So is there anybody else that sort of you got a good inkling that they were going to make it when they were here as a player?
Well, disappointment, and I think he's actually going back, but another boy that looked as really good as a laddie was Kevin McHattie, who was here and then, but unfortunately we lost him to Hearts. Kevin was a good player. Jamie Bishop as a boy was unbelievable with his organisational skills, and okay, he went on, he didn't play for us, he played 300 games and won 3 championships, so, Pat Clark always looked a danger. But I remember the time that when I was in Corfu, when we were in Corfu, Dundee were there at the same time as us. Stevie Campbell and Kenny Cameron were the Dundee people. I was there with JR, and we used to watch the games and that we played in, and we tried to pick out a couple of Dundee players who were going to make it, and Stevie done the same with us, and we picked out Scott Robertson and Paul Dixon, who have all went on to do no bad for themselves, and Stevie picked out Sean Murdoch, Craig McHugh and Pat Clark for us. So as boys, you can see something. But what I'll say, Christine, a coach is different from a scout. See, a scout can see things in players that a coach can't. You can bring that out of the player, but there might just be 1 or 2 things in a game that a scout sees a player doing and says, right, he could be a player. And then you bring that in, and as a coach, you then try and bring it out. And I sometimes think, I mean, I've been the same myself, where you've brought laddies in, and you know you've got all these boxes and that you do now, all the moving about, all the passing and everything, and they're sometimes not very good, right? But then you arrange a wee match, and the boys may be playing in centre midfield, and the first thing he does is just go in and bang, boom, wins the ball, and just passes it on and say, oh, well, he's not good there, but he's good there, so he can do that role in the middle of the park. I'll give you an example, going back when we were boys, before Chris Kane come here, and he was at Hearts. Any time we played them, Chris Kane was all over the park trying to kick Sean Byrne, because Sean could lose him in football, but then it ended up that there were two central midfielders in the cup final, and they complemented one another. Terrific. Kane would just win the ball and get it to Sean to play. So that's, you know, there's always something. And
So would you rely on scouts a lot?
yes. I would think that's maybe one of the problems that where the club has gone. We never ever had enough scouts. I mean, Stephen's got boys working for him now that can go, but I mean, as I say, when Davie come in here, we only had the one scout boy called Davie Hodge, but then Davie used his contacts and he brought in a boy called Bobby Patterson. Bobby stayed in Whitburn, but he was a police officer. He worked at the Young Offenders Institution at the moment, and and Bobby then started looking for people across in that area doing the Lothians, Stirlingshire, and it was actually Bobby that brought in that boy John Hind. And he says, I've got a boy, we were doing sort of pre-season stuff down at the Fleet Grounds, and we had a match against Tynecastle Boys Club, I can always remember it, and Bobby had phoned me up and says, I've got a boy John Hind coming in, plays up front, Davie, look after him. And come in and we started playing, and within 15 minutes I was on the phone to Davie McParland. I says, we must get this boy signed on an S form. It was the S form situation at the time. Davie says, is he that good? I says, aye. He says, well, he says, ask him to come in tomorrow. So the boy come in the next day. It was during the school holidays, that's because we were doing pre-season stuff. The boy come in the next day and signed an S form for us. And we had to, when we went back, we had to get the school, because you had to get the headmaster to sign it, because he was only 14 at the time. So, but but scouts see something different in a player and then coaches try and bring that out, try and move that on.
So do you think a club should have a good scouting system?
Yes. I mean, I think I just read the situation there last week, that I think Brendan Rodgers has virtually trebled the scouting system at Celtic since he come in. You look at the boy that was quoted for the Rangers job there as the director of football, Ross Wilson. Ross is a very good friend of mine. When I was doing the administration at Dunfermline, Ross was doing the administration at Falkirk, and got on great with him. Ross then moved to Watford, and then he moved from Watford and he's now at Southampton, and he is in charge of player recruitment, and he has got scouts all over the world. I believe that Craig Robertson's one of them that does it in Spain for him. So I mean, that's, I know we can't go to that area because we're not looking, but I mean, I think we should have at least a couple of scouts down in England, maybe one. I don't know whether we'll need to go south, maybe one north, one Midlands, looking round about these clubs and looking at players that we could maybe pick up.
Type of person then to be a scout?
Aye. Definitely. as I say, there just might be a player does a reverse pass or something in a game and say because he's done it automatically and found a player he doesn't need to look up. He just does these things automatically. He knows where the space and that is there. And I mean, if you're playing with these sort of guys, it can be a dream. And then the coach has got to nurture that and look at it, getting playing in the proper places, if you know what I mean, and into the system, because it's no good having somebody that can do a defence splitting pass if he's not in the right place to do it. And then that's the thing, you can always look at with boys saying everybody can look great on the ball and beat players and things like that, but the higher up you go in the game, the more players you try and beat, the more you'll get crowded out. You'll get crowded out where if a player can just look and see something and make a pass and take 3 of the opposition players out of the game, then that's it, and that's what scouts see, and that's where the coaches have got to nurture it and then bring that on.